Of the year when final touches are being given to the budget document, and the third wave is likely to have some imprint. While trade, commerce and business saw some levels of normalcy towards the end of the calendar year, the third wave and come 1st February, when the budget proposal are laid before the parliament, should have some imprint on the said announcements. Traditionally, in the Indian context, budget is merely not a statement of annual expenditure of receipts and payment, which is the constitutional prerogative of the executive, but is also an occasion when lot of policy announcements are made for future. A report card is also presented of the implementation of various schemes which were announced in the past. The preceding year's budget in the year 2021 was in the midst of pandemic, and therefore the focus of the budget, and rightly so, was economic relief. Public health did assume lot of center stage, and growth and employment with the onslaught of pandemic did find reflection in the proposals made. The third wave and the timing thereof, it seems that few of these important measures should continue, not only for the sake of continuity, but also to ensure that India is reliant and self-reliant when it comes to withstanding the pandemic. The common man is still hesitant to spend, and therefore consumer expenditure patterns have not yet seen the same levels which were observed during pre-pandemic. Savings have also been affected. Personal disposable income is something which is an element where there is an expectation, and therefore the personal tax proposals, whether they would provide some elbow room in terms of enhanced levels of standard deduction and some more personal disposable income in the hands of common man, is an area where the government will have to walk a very tight rope, considering the fact that for the major part of the last 2 years we didn't have much improvement in collections. Having said so, the December 2021 figures, as I said, with some normalcy, we saw an overall increase of direct tax collection of about 60%, and about 9.45 lakh crores was the total direct tax collection, which the government should expect in further consolidation as things and economy do streamline. There are some niggles with regard to taxpayer services. The constant difficulties of IT, portal, filing, uploading are something which government is very mindful of. There have been protracted discussions also with various stakeholders. So that's an area of tax compliance and administration which should further get streamlined, and with this happening, there is a likely expectation of enhanced levels of voluntary tax compliance as everybody is under the radar. Capital formation and focus on public and private partnership may see some policy announcement, but with regard to spending on infrastructure, and having seen that fair bit of investment has been collated with infrastructure investment trusts, it is likely expected in terms of expectations from various quarters that this being a good form of capital formation, relief in the form of reduction of capital gains tax should happen. Now, whether the top line headline rate with regard to personal income tax would reduce, I have my strong suspicion or suspect around it, for the simple reason that the sources of further augmentation of tax collections are far and few. At the same time, with the great run which the stock market has, whether the finance ministry would be tempted to slightly enhance the capital gains tax rates associated with stock market earnings in terms of some enhancement of short-term capital gains tax and long-term capital gains tax, and tinkering it marginally may just happen. On legislative side, I think the recent trend of taxpayers knocking the door of courts ever than before is something which may find some rationalization in the tax proposals. On international tax side, with India also signing the global minimum tax deal and being a party to it, the upcoming budgets may find some imprints of the global minimum tax deal, which should pave way for all unilateral levies to get rolled back by 2023. So therefore, if the budget finds some reflection which are in tune with with India's signing the global tax deal, that should not come as a surprise. All in all, this budget again is a budget which will pose a challenge for Madam Sitharaman to walk a fine balance, to do a fine balancing act and the tight rope walk. An interesting feature of this budget could be that this might be the prelude to the Vision 2047. We all understand that the Modi government has started the process of making India self-reliant by asking the various ministries to present their blueprint as to what all it takes to make India a self-reliant country in its 100 years of independence in 2047. So whether the budget will also focus in that direction, it needs to be seen. For the time being, the pandemic is not endemic, and therefore the budget should have an imprint and reflections of what it takes for a nation to go through the pandemic. It is unlikely that there would be a lot of announcements which might cheer up the taxpayer, but at the same time, if the budget helps in alleviating the softer concerns of taxpayer without really enhancing the tax rate, I think that should be a fair and legitimate expectation. Let us see what is tabled on 1st and February. As they say, watch out the space. Thank you.